the general registers of the insect world, we find him making constant reference to an uncle, in respect of whom he would seem to have entertained great expectations. As he was in the habit of seeking to propitiate his favour by presents of plate, jewels, books, watches, and other valuable articles, thus he writes on one occasion to his brother in reference to a gravy spoon, the brother's property, which he, Diggory, would appear to have borrowed or otherwise possessed himself of. "Do not be angry, I have parted with it to my uncle." On another occasion he expresses himself in a similar manner with regard to a child's mug which had been entrusted to him to get repaired. On another occasion he says, "I have bestowed upon the irresistible uncle of mine everything I ever possessed," and that he was in the habit of paying long and constant visits to this gentleman at his mansion. If indeed he did not wholly reside there, is manifest from the following sentence: "With the exception of the suit of clothes I carry about with me, the whole of my wearing apparel is at present at my uncle's." This gentleman's patronage and influence must have been very extensive, for his nephew writes, "His interest is too high, it is too much, it is tremendous," and the like. Still it does not appear, which is strange, to have procured for him any lucrative post at court or elsewhere, or to have conferred upon him any other distinction than that which was necessarily included in the countenance of so great a man, and the being invited by him to certain entertainments so splendid and costly in their nature that he calls them golden balls. It is needless to multiply the instances of the high and lofty station and the vast importance of the Chuzzlewits of different periods. If it came within the scope of reasonable probability that further proofs were required, they might be heaped upon each other until they formed an Alps of testimony, beneath which the boldest scepticism should be crushed and beaten flat. As a goodly tumulus is already collected and decently battened up above the family grave, the present chapter is content to leave it as it is, merely adding, by way of a final spadeful, that many Chuzzlewits, both male and female, are proved to demonstration on the faith of letters written by their own mothers, to have had chiselled noses, undeniable chins, forms that might have served the sculptor for a model, exquisitely turned limbs, and polished foreheads of so transparent a texture that the blue veins might be seen branching off in various directions, like so many roads on an ethereal map. This fact in itself, though it had been a solitary one, would have utterly settled and clenched the business in hand, for it is well known on the authority of all the books which treat of such matters, that every one of these phenomena, but especially that of the chiselling, are invariably peculiar to, and only make themselves apparent in, persons of the very best condition. This history, having to its own perfect satisfaction, and consequently to the full contentment of all its readers, proved the Chuzzlewits to have had an origin, and to have been at one time or other of an importance which cannot fail to render them highly improving and acceptable acquaintances to all right-minded individuals, may now proceed in earnest with its task. And having shown that they must have, by reason of their ancient birth, a pretty large share in the foundation and increase of the human family, it will one day become its province to submit that such of its members as shall be introduced in these pages have still many counterparts and prototypes in the great world about us. At present it contents itself with remarking in a general way on this head. Firstly, that it may be safely asserted, and yet without implying any direct participation in the Manbodo doctrine touching the probability of the human race having once been monkeys, that men do play very strange and extraordinary tricks. Secondly, and yet without trenching on the Blumenbach theory, as to the descendants of Adam having a vast number of qualities which belong more particularly to swine than to any other class of animals in the creation, that some men certainly are remarkable for taking uncommon good care of themselves. End of chapter 1.